Hello and welcome to Fantasy Friendship. I'm your host, Stephen Lodge, joined today by Jordan Bahr and Brook DeMarque to discuss one of the darker stories that's going to be on this podcast, being robbed at gunpoint in college. Jordan, Brook, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen.
And this story isn't one I'm really a part of, so I'm going to let them kind of handle the show. I decided not to go with them on this trip, which is pretty unusual. Usually I'd be a part of it. Had a friend in town, decided not to go, thankfully. But gentlemen, you can take it from here.
All right, Jordan, I'll let you start the story off.
Okay, I'll try and intersect it so that you can give your side pretty evenly. We'll just go back and forth. From what I remember, because I don't remember exact time frames, and Brooke might be able to fill in on that specific information, it was a late fall or winter night, right? Real early in the morning, I think right around 1 or 2 a.m.
I believe it was September or October. I can't remember the exact month, but it was around 1:30, I think, is when we left the apartment.
Yeah, it would have been October because I'm almost positive there's still football going on, and it's not like winter cold, but it's still pretty cold that night. And yeah, what year would that have been? Because you would have been an RA.
It was 2014. 2014, yeah. Actually. So almost 6 years ago.
Was that your first year up at Iowa?
Yeah, I was a freshman.
And just to set the scene a little bit, we lived in an apartment just across the street from a Walmart. Mm-hmm. So like a 10-minute walk. And this is in Iowa City, Iowa, University of Iowa, where we all went to school.
Yeah, essentially a bunch of us guys lived up in an apartment complex that was right across the street from a Walmart. And this is off the beaten track, but it was kind of a weird location as far as student housing goes. I mean, it lost its like student housing authority relationship with the university the year after we moved in, but it's just a weird place and kind of located really far away from the college. But anyway, one night we decide, not unusually, to go down to Walmart. There's a couple things we want to get from the store just to snack on or to drink or whatever. And so we head down there. It is myself, Jake, who isn't here, and Brooke, as we just walk right across the street. It's several hundred feet down the street after we've crossed it, and then a right turn to get into the parking lot for Walmart. And anyway, we go down that short street, and we turn into that right turn to start going towards Walmart. Brooke, I'll let you kind of pick up from here, but essentially this is where everything kind of starts.
Yeah, so we're on a street. As you said, we turn right, and it's just a little straightaway that leads right into the Walmart parking lot. And we're about halfway on this straightaway when a car pulls up and kind of does this weird turn and stops like right in front of us. Nothing's really going through my head at this point, but then two guys, I think, Jordan?
Two of them, yeah.
Two guys get out of the car, come up to us. They hadn't said anything yet until they get like maybe 10 feet from us, and then they say, "Give us all your stuff." And we were like, what's going on here? And then you see one of the guys raises his arm, and his arm is a little revolver pistol pointed straight at us. So at that point, we were like, oh, we're getting robbed.
Who was the gun pointed at first?
It was just a general gun point. I don't think it was pointed at anyone specific. It was just like, hey, look at this. We have a gun. Give us your stuff. I don't remember any specifics of if they pointed at any of us directly right away, but we were all kind of in a slight state of shock, just generally like, whoa, this is happening right now. This is happening. I don't know if you have anything else to add to this point of the story, Jordan. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, really, my own point of view, everything that you say right now is pretty much spot on. I just remember looking at the cars that passed us. It's this like green four-door sedan, still has the dealer plates on it from a used car dealership that's actually down the street from where we lived. I just remember looking at the car and seeing it stop just dead in the street and knowing we were in for something. I didn't know if it was just going to be like kids that were going to dick around with us or jab at us or what, but we were down for something. And then I see them get out and I'm like, oh God, like this is going to go one of two ways. We're either going to get the hell beaten out of us or something else is going to happen here. And that's really all I'm thinking at this point is just like, I'm kind of screwed. Let's just see how this plays out. I'm really here. I'm not going to like run away because I've got you two with me too. Like, that's not gonna work. But yeah, I just remember being in kind of like a weird daze where it felt like everything kind of like not like slow, but just like the world around me kind of stopped as all this stuff went on. It was really, really, really surreal.
Yeah, I agree. What happened next essentially is we were like, no reason to say no to this. That would be ridiculous. Let's just give them our stuff. So I handed them my phone as well as you guys. It all happened really fast. I reached for my wallet, dropped my wallet, me thinking, oh, my wallet's on the ground. I'm going to pick it up. I start reaching over to grab the wallet. Then I look up and there is this pistol pointed about maybe 5 or 6 inches from my head. The guy says, don't move anymore. So I stop, let him pick the wallet up, and then I back with the group. And that was a really terrifying experience, let me tell you.
So during all of this, these guys are robbing you with a gun on you. You are polite to them and like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to drop the wallet. Let me get that for you, bud.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I was just, it's not even something like in those situations, it's just instinctual. It's like, oh, I dropped my wallet. Let me pick it up. You don't even think like, oh, this is actually the situation. You drop something. You're like, oh, I got to pick it up. So I guess I didn't think anything different than what I normally would have done. But in that case, it led to a gun being pointed very close to my face.
Point of disconnect, I think, because like for them, it's like, oh yeah, if you start reaching in weird places, they're going to think that you're like doing something weird. But for us, it's like, well, we just want to comply as much as possible to make this stop. We just don't want to be here anymore.
Yep. It's like, I'm going to be as polite as possible because you have a gun drawn. Not really like I'm trying to pull some weird stuff. It's like, oh, let's get this over with faster. I'm going to pick it up and hand it to you. So that didn't really work. So they took my wallet and my phone, and then they continued looting Jacob and Jordan. Do you want to talk about your experience with this? What happened, what they said to you, all that stuff?
Yeah, so there were 2 guys. There was a gentleman kind of my height, and for reference, I'm like 5'9", very, very average, skinny kid. And this other gentleman that's kind of like my general build is the one that has the gun. Come to find out, he also has like a list of other like criminal charges, some of them having to do with illegal weapon possession, but that's beyond the point of, or beyond the scope of this right now. Anyway, there's him, and then his accomplice. There's actually like 4 guys that are doing this unbeknownst to us. 2 of them are out of the car. The larger of the 2 is the one that I'm mostly dealing with. He's like grabbing my stuff. He's like a little over 6 foot from what I remember. Definitely bigger for sure. And he doesn't have a gun, at least not that we see. And he's like taking my stuff, and I had a backpack on because like back in the day when I walked places, that's how I put all of my stuff, all my groceries. I just put them in my backpack. But I also carried like my work clothes in there. Like if I was reading a book, I'd carry that in there. He takes that. The only thing that he mentions to me is like, hey man, I need your backpack too. And I said, really, dude? There's just I just told him, I was like, there's just work clothes in here. And he goes, just give me your backpack. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I give him my backpack, my wallet, my phone, and that's pretty much it. So I'm just like, okay, I don't have any more. I don't really remember what they took from Jake. It was like wallet, phone. He didn't really bring anything else on him, or have anything else on him. So
it was basically just wallet and phone from what I remember. And that's what they got from me and Jake, and then they got your bag as well. One thing I will commend them on, they didn't take any of our keys.
No keys.
We dropped them on the ground. They just left them. They didn't care. So I guess in that sense, good on them.
Good guys. Yeah.
Real great group of guys.
Yeah, real good.
I was going to ask how you got back in the apartment later, but that explains it. Weren't you guys on skateboards too?
No, we just walked.
You just walked. Okay.
We just walked. That would have sucked if they stole skateboards or anything like that from us. Nope.
We'd have never gotten that back from the police. The police would have never given that to us.
Probably not. We lose all our stuff besides our keys, and after that, we're just standing in the street like, what now?
So do they just hop back in the car and drive off? Was that the end?
Yeah, they get in their car, do a little Yui, and go the same way they came in, and we are like, well, what now? So we're like, logical. Let's go into Walmart and tell someone we just got robbed at gunpoint. Honest to God, we walk in Walmart, find the first person we can, tell them, hey, we just got robbed at gunpoint right outside your store. Her response is, no, you didn't.
This is like a Walmart manager? What?
It's just, I think it's just an employee.
Mm-hmm.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, she's like, no, are you guys serious? No, you didn't.
Which,
Stop
to be
making
fair,
stuff up.
if I was in her position, I would probably be like, that's some crap. Like, you guys are just pulling some crap. Because Walmart people deal with so many stupid customers.
And it's so late, and we're 3 college-age kids. Like, it definitely – I didn't feel legitimate when I told her that. Like, I felt so weird being like, yeah, we just got robbed at gunpoint outside your store. Like,
Who was the employee? Was it like college age as well? Were they older? Were they?
I want to say middle-aged, if I remember right.
Okay.
Like, maybe 40s.
We had dealt with her for a while, I think, going to that Walmart.
We tell her, and eventually she has to believe us because it'd be kind of messed up if she didn't. We didn't have anything but our keys. So
she had to convince her? Were you like,
I mean, not, it wasn't like we were like, yes, we really were. And she was like, oh, okay, let's get this figured out then. So she took us into like their security room, their security guy, and they had all the TVs there. And they tried to pull up some footage because we were literally like 50 to 100 feet away from the Walmart when it happened, but we were on this side street. So it technically wasn't Walmart property. So they pull up the camera footage, and it's so funny. It's the blurriest thing ever. And in the very corner of the camera footage, you see this car pull up and you see 3 guys standing there. You can't see anything of notice, anything important at all. And we're like, that's us. You can't tell, but that was us. And at that point, they're like, yep, we've got the cops coming. So we're talking to the cops as well at this point.
Yeah, they have a camera on the very corner of the Walmart building, kind of generally facing that street to get out of the lot. From what I remember, you can see the car pull like onto that street because it's like they pull pretty close to the Walmart because they're down the street from us when they originally get out. You see them like kind of get out from what I remember, and then you see them leave and you see us walk up the street towards the Walmart. That's it. You don't see the actual confrontation between us and that gentleman that took all of our shit.
So generally at this point, we're talking to the police now in the Walmart security room. Maybe 10, 15 minutes goes by. The police guy gets a radio walkie saying that they pulled over a car that looks similar to the one Jordan described, because Jordan got a good look at the car. I was in kind of a state of shock that I didn't really notice a lot of details, but Jordan did a phenomenal job of that. Like he said, it was like a green 4-door sedan with dealer plates on it. They pulled over a car just like that in downtown Iowa City, and they wanted us to come with them now to go to that car and see if we could help identify the people that potentially did this. So we did.
This part of the story is so weird looking back on it, how it worked, because I'm pretty sure what they did wasn't actually legal. I don't think they're allowed to run a lineup on people that is not actually within police custody. Like, yes, they had them detained, but I think they actually have to take them into custody in order for witnesses to come down and register if a person has or is the actual robber, whatever. Anyway, we go down there. The police are telling us that they've gotten like 2 other reports of groups that have also had similar encounters, and what they're claiming sounds really close to what had happened to us. But this had all happened in downtown Iowa City. We're kind of on the outskirts, pretty close to the interstate when this occurs. Anyway, we go down to a parking lot that is right by the Iowa City it's like the public library or something like that, right on the corner of Gilbert and Burlington.
Yeah, I want to say it was
the rec center.
Yeah, the rec center. I was going to say, I think it was like the
Iowa City Rec Center.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and so we go down there. They pull these guys out of a cruiser, and they're showing us them one by one. And, like, there were 2 of the guys we don't recognize because they're the ones that were driving the car or, like, just passengers. So we didn't ever really get a look at them at all. But then they bring out the larger guy and the shorter guy, and we're able to kind of, like, verify what they were wearing. Again, it's kind of hard because, like, we're going through all this stuff, and it's like so unfamiliar to both of us because like who, when they're like, you know, around 20 years old, 18, 19 years old, is thinking like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to college. I'm also going to get robbed at gunpoint near my place of living. So anyway, we're going through all that. We kind of identify them. They like have us start calling our phones. They're like finding our phones in the car. Like they're finding all this stuff. And of course they can't give it back to us because now it's like evidence. So they have to like take it with them. It's just this weird, like they're like showing us these people in like a parking lot in Iowa City. And the cops are like so weird. They're talking so like plainly about these people who just robbed us at gunpoint. Like, I just thought it was the weirdest freaking ordeal that they had us going through. It was so weird.
And that's another thing where you and I differ is like none of my head registered that any of that was weird. I was just like, holy crap, we just got robbed. My mind is racing a million miles an hour, but none of it came back to me thinking, oh, this is weird, because I didn't know how to process any of that information at that point. They literally had like 10 phones, I swear, lined up on the hood of this car. And they gave us one of their phones and were like, call your number. And sure enough, every time we called our number, one of the phones on the hood would light up. That's probably what confirmed that these were the guys. That had to have been the evidence. They're like, all right, these guys need to be locked up. Because if I remember right, they don't find the gun, Jordan. I don't remember if you remember anything about that. I don't think they found a gun.
Well, I do remember the fact that I got a call from a detective shortly after we went in for interview, because like they're like confirming their case. They've got the DA and a bunch of attorneys that had asked us to come in to like corroborate our stories in front of these people that had robbed us. And I do remember telling them what the make of the gun is, kind of like what it looked like. It's like black gunmetal revolver. It's not a short nose. It's like the full barrel revolver. I'm pretty sure it's like woods. From what I remember, it's like wood handle. I remember getting a call from the detective stating, yes, your identification of the gun was really what helped us, be able to put them away for the sentences that they had. And so I think that they did. I think that they did find the gun, maybe not on them that night, but certainly in the vehicle when they searched it for evidence later, they found that gun. Because the detective like confirmed it. But yeah, I don't know if they found it that night though.
They could have pitched out the window or something too and found it later on. That's pretty impressive though, like in a traumatizing situation, to be able to identify things as detailed as that. I mean, just the car would be hard to identify, the plates and what they're wearing and their size and all that, but to identify the gun is pretty crazy in that situation.
Yeah, and that's where I just commend Jordan so much, because he remembers way more details about the story than I do. Mm-hmm. Everyone's brain processes things differently when stuff like this happens. Jordan was extremely detailed. He always is and always has been, and he just remembered every last detail. I can't say that my deposition probably helped any. I was very vague because a lot of it was just a blur to me. And I don't know about Jacob, but I feel like he's probably the same way. Knowing Jacob, he typically, I'm not trying to like bash on Jacob, but I feel like he's not always as detail oriented as Jordan as well.
No, bashing on Jacob will be a future episode.
Yeah, thank God for that. Yeah, God, I was trying to remember that word, deposition. So, yes, everybody's brain does process things differently, because I'm out here forgetting the words that I need in order to tell this story properly. But I don't know. Like I said, everything stopped in the world around me except for that moment. And I just remember seeing things, and for whatever reason, they stuck. So I don't really think it was in any ingenuity on my part. I literally just think exactly like what Brooke said. My mind just worked in that moment, in that specific way. That's it. I call it sheer dumb luck, call it what you will, but it was lucky that I was able to retain some of that information, because I don't know what the other victims of this had to say in their depositions. I don't know what Jake said. So,
mm-hmm. And these depositions also took place like 3 months after it happened, if I remember right. I think it was like January.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Stuff just takes a long time to process in the legal system, as it always does. So I think it was like January. I want to say I was just coming back from winter break, and I had to go to the police station to give the deposition.
So you guys never appeared in court, right? You just gave the deposition in?
No, never appeared in court. I know it went to court. I don't know. They never had to call us as witnesses or anything like that. So that was really good. I'm glad I didn't have to, because that would have been a bit much as well. And all of that stuff would have happened so long after that I would have even been more hazy. I'm happy it didn't go that way and we didn't have to testify in court.
Mm-hmm. Seriously. There are two more pieces here that I wanted to point out. The first one being that about our items, I in particular got most of my stuff back. I did not get my wallet back. However, I got most of the loose items that were in there. I think I lost some tip money that I had received at work, because I don't think they give cash back. There's just no way of verifying whose that is. It's just treated as evidence and it's gone. I received that back. I received my phone back. I never got my bag back. They never found my bag. So I lost my work clothes, which were easily replaced by the company I was working at. I lost a copy of As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. That's it. So, like, that's all easily replaced. No big deal. I think Jake lost the most stuff that was never recovered, but I don't exactly remember that. Do you remember what you got back, Brooke?
So to speak on Jake, I'm pretty sure all of us got our phones back. I'm pretty sure Jake just straight up didn't get anything in his wallet back. Like, wallet was just not found, I'm pretty sure. I got probably the luckiest. I mean, they only took my phone and wallet, but they found both of those and I got both of them back. The things that were missing from my wallet, I don't think I had any cash besides like a $2 bill that I've had in my wallet forever. It's just kind of this thing I have in there all the time. That was still there, which is hilarious because they took like a $7 AMC movie pass or something like that. That was like the only thing that was missing out of my wallet.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
To speak on it took like 3 days, I think, was for them to process the evidence before we could have any of it back. My student ID was in there, and that was my way of getting into my dorm building, which I got a temporary card key, but it also got me into the dining hall, and they were just really unforgiving about letting me in because I'm sure they probably have people saying like, oh, I lost my thing. Can I come in all the time? And if they just said yes to those, then they would be giving away a lot of free food. So I'm sure that they were probably just trying to cover their bases, but my hall coordinator was trying to be really nice. And I think he wrote like a note that said I could get into the dining hall like a day or so after, because I told him, I was like, hey, I went to the dining hall. They wouldn't let me in. Like, you know, the situation, I was robbed. I don't have any of this stuff. He's like, okay, I will talk to them. Won't be an issue. But I couldn't eat for it. Like, I had to use guest passes to go to the dining hall.
Oh, geez.
Which was
that
just so
and that
brutal.
indirectly cost me guest passes. So that's pretty upsetting.
Yes. This was around the time, my freshman year. Steven would always come to me with the dining hall. I think I had like 7 guest passes per semester. And I think Steven used like 5 of them.
Probably. Yeah, I was hungry.
And those guest passes were great. You could eat as much as you wanted. It was fantastic.
Oh, yeah. We were starving college kids, and Brooke's like, hey, you want a buffet for free? You're darn tootin' I do. So after the robbery happens, you check your phones, they cuff them, take them in. Did the police give you a ride back to the apartment?
Yes. This is actually going to be my second point, was that after these gentlemen are detained, we go through the whole lineup, all that fun stuff. They're like, okay, we'll take you back home now. They're like, where do you live? I was like, I just told them my apartment community that I was living at, just take us back there. So we went back to my place, came in. Everything was fine. I remember talking to you specifically and saying, hey, can I use your phone? I don't have my phone anymore. I got to call my mom. And actually, I think I called my mom the next day because it was really late. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, we told you what the story was. I think you were like, were you asleep or something?
I think I was, because that was when our friend Jeremy was visiting, and Jordan and I are roommates at this point. My friend Jeremy was visiting, and we told him how cool Iowa City was, and he couldn't go into the bar because he was wearing shorts, so we had to buy jeans at a thrift store downtown. And then you guys got robbed, and it was like, yeah, welcome to Iowa City. This is your best experience you could have.
And to kind of the point of Iowa City is in September, me and Zach and Jacob we went to see a comedy show. That night, Zach's car got broken into and my backpack got stolen. I lost my laptop and like 3 of my textbooks. So it was already not a great start to my college career. And then not even a month later, I am getting robbed.
This is freshman year too.
Yes.
You're 18 years old, going on 19, and this stuff is happening.
Yeah, I was pretty much a fresh 18-year-old. I was young for my grade. So I was just a few months 18 and all this stupid stuff happening to me my first semester at college. And another thing that I want to point out is, Jordan, before they took us back to the apartment, we actually went to the station and wrote written reports.
That's right. We did. Oh my gosh. I totally forgot about that. Yes, they did make us write. Some reports are like, please be as detailed as possible because this is going to be used against them. And so we're just trying to write down all the stuff that we can remember before we can go home and sleep because it's freaking late at this point.
It was a minor detail of the greater story. I just thought I'd point it out.
No. Yeah, just how long all of this took, because it took us so long to get.
It was a long process for sure.
I want to say late because I would have been freaking out because this would have been 3 or 4 hours probably after you guys left.
Yeah, we left at like 1:30ish, and I think we got back, if I remember right, it was like 3:30 or 4. It was around 3:30 to 4.
And I know you knocked on my door. I think it was Brooke knocked on my door right away. And it was like, Steve, I need to use your phone. I got robbed at gunpoint. For some reason, there wasn't any like groggy doubt. I was like, oh yeah, man, here you go.
I like the Walmart employee.
I was like, oh yeah, You definitely get robbed at gunpoint. Let
A
me
few
just
hours
jump out of my
asleep,
sleep
Steven.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, Steven, who's asleep for a few hours, is more responsive than the Walmart employee.
My goodness.
And then was there any after effects of the robbery?
Mm-hmm. There was definitely like a greater sense of like, I need to be aware of my surroundings when I'm walking places at night. But, and I know Jordan has spoke on this as well. Me and him both kind of had some nightmares after that. Just like, I know they lasted maybe about half a year for me. It wouldn't be very often. And that's one thing Jake will be staunchly like against, is he said he's never had any nightmares or anything like that, which good for him. I wouldn't want him to anyways. But Jordan, I'll let you speak on that as well.
Honestly, I hate being the dissenting opinion that is like, no, Jake absolutely was affected by this, and he just didn't say it. But he says that he didn't have issues with it, and good for him. I wouldn't want that, because all I know was it stuck. So for about half a year after that, I was having nightmares once a week, once a month, every couple of days, just randomly, sporadically, of things happening to me, violence is occurring to me, to other people that I knew, stuff like that. I don't really think it's appropriate to go too far into detail about all that stuff. But yeah, quite vivid nightmares for about half a year. And then throughout the rest of my college career, exactly like Brooke said, I just was looking over my shoulder a lot more, really making sure that I knew where people were in relation to me. It was to the point where I could tell you if somebody had been following me or somebody was near me, how many blocks they were near me. Like I knew all of that stuff. And I did that throughout my entire college career. Was it stressful? Yes. Did it make walking at night terrible? Absolutely. But at the same time, it did make me feel like I had some control. So yeah, absolutely. There were after effects of this situation. Because at the moment, I didn't think it was that bad. I fell asleep that night, no problem. I mean, given it was like 4:00 when I went to bed, but still, I went to sleep no problem. I didn't think it was any big deal. And then after that, it was when it really, got bad. So.
Yeah, I think that night as well, it was just kind of one of those things like, I want tonight to be over. So it was really easy to fall asleep. And then, in the morning is when I think I did all the calling of my parents and figuring out what the heck happens next. But yeah, it's just overall just a greater sense of awareness, because I feel like I was pretty oblivious before that. But maybe after that, I just kind of noticed things a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you guys want to add to this story?
In the end, the people got, I want to say, max sentence. 2 of the guys got 30-year sentences, but they could get out after 7, I think, with good behavior. And then another guy, I want to say, got 25 and could get out after 5 years. And I don't remember what happened to the 4th guy. He might not have even been 18, so it might not have gone on his he might have been fine. I don't remember.
Thank God they caught everybody. They got it mostly figured out. We got to go back to some normalcy. The people who did this, did get punished. Thank goodness, because that's absolutely what should have happened. But I think also there was a lot of mercy and restraint on our part, because it wasn't so much that we just wanted this all to be over. And I remember looking at it, they're like, well, what do you feel like we should be sentencing them to? What do you think is the recommendation? I was like, well, I think your minimum sentence per the ordinances that you have in the city are fine. I don't think that it's super imperative that somebody stays in prison forever, because then when they come out, they're going to be worse off. They're going to be terrible because that's all they know. So what's the point of imprisoning somebody for a super long amount of time and just being an ass about it when you could just say, screw it, I want to be done with it, and going your own way. So,
and I thought kind of the same thing. All I wanted was them to be locked up as long as I was in Iowa City. Honestly, I was like, if it's 4 years and they get out as soon as I leave, I'm fine with that. My thought was like, I'm not even going to be here by the time they get out, so I'm perfectly okay with it. I'm not trying to make them go to prison forever or anything like that. They don't deserve that.
Do you guys know if any of them got released? I know you said 2 of them, I think, have 7-year minimum sentences, but
one of them had a 5-year minimum. So
it's
technically one could be out. I don't think I've heard anything. I don't know about Jordan, because I used to get mail because they were like appealing the case or something. I got mail once. It was a few years ago. I didn't do anything with it. I didn't care. They were just letting me know it was happening. Yeah, no, I don't think they can even be out of prison like the 7-year sentences. because it's only been 6 years since it's happened.
Mhm.
One of them could be out though, hypothetically. I think that was the driver of the car.
Yeah, one of them for sure. But yeah, we just, I was so done. I just didn't want to get any more letters. I wanted to stop getting called all over freaking Iowa City to give a deposition, to talk to a detective, to talk to police officers. I was just so over it. I didn't want to do it anymore. So I washed my hands of it and went on with my college career. And luckily, nothing like that ever happened again while I was in Iowa City. So
And hopefully
Yep.
it doesn't happen to anybody else that's currently there.
yeah.
Yep. I've had some weird other things happen in Iowa City since then. Like there was a shooting out at the bar across from Brothers, and I was in Brothers, so we heard a couple gunshots.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the alleyway.
Mhm.
If you come from that way, like towards Brothers from like oh god, what is it? Grand
That
Avenue.
little tunnel, right?
Yeah.
It was near that little tunnel that's got all the lights in it.
Yep, someone got shot and killed there while I was at Brothers.
Can't remember that bar name. Like Martinis or something.
Martinis.
Is that
It was
Okay.
it was that alleyway right by Martinis. It was where that happened.
I hung out with some lawyers at Martinis once. That's not much of a podcast topic. Just, had a lawyer
Context.
friend. Yeah, there you go.
Some context. Yeah. So I never really felt unsafe in Iowa City. It's just kind of always that sense of, oh God, I got to be a little more careful of my surroundings. But I never really felt unsafe, and I never really looked down on Iowa City for it. It could have happened literally anywhere.
Mhm.
It just
We were
happened to
just
happen
close
to
to
me.
Chicago. Just close to Chicago. You get a lot of people from Chicago are traveling in and or out, and that's really all that can be said. It's just like any other place.
And I guess the last thing I have to add is the reason I think they went over to that Walmart is I think they were going to go in Walmart and buy some stuff and then head out on the interstate. I think that's why they came from downtown over to that side of town. Maybe I could be wrong. My mind is just ran about it. So I think they kind of went over there and saw us walking, and they're like, oh, let's just hit another group up and then get out of here the other way. So I think we were just kind of a roadblock on their way to getting out of the city, but then they went back into the city. So it doesn't really make much sense.
All that matters is that you guys are okay and a bad situation didn't turn worse.
Yeah. Jordan, I got a question for Jordan. I guess in my mind, I've ran through like a million scenarios of that night. And do you ever think about how much of a badass you could have been and just like kicked all of their asses and took them down? Because I think about that all the time. I know I would never do it, but I just like in my head, I'm like, oh man, what if I could have done this and that and saved the day?
No, because the moment I try and interfere is the moment that all of us get shot and killed on a side street in Iowa City, and that's our legacy. So, no, I never think about that. I don't know if I ever will. I would love to say, oh, yeah, like I'm super macho and could totally beat a person's ass and disarm them and then hold the rest of them up while the cops come, and then like three beautiful women would tell me how virile I am, but that's never going to happen. So, I don't think about that.
I don't blame you at all. It's not something that really crosses my mind. It's just like at the time I was really into comic books and stuff. I'm like, oh man, I feel like I could have been much more of a hero in this situation. But the reality is I'm a scrawny 18-year-old kid against two guys with a gun. I would never do anything. It's just kind of fun to think about it.
And that's the one that I probably wouldn't have believed if you knocked on my door at 4 a.m. when I was half asleep and said, hey, Steven, we kicked the ass of 3 guys. One of them had a gun down by Walmart. Okay, Brooke, I'm going to go to sleep now.
Yeah, what happened was exactly what should have happened. None of us got hurt. Nothing happened other than some annoyances in our lives after that. So it was honestly the best ending it could have been.
Yeah, seriously. If somebody ever hears this podcast and thinks to themselves, yeah, I could defend myself against a guy with a gun, don't do that. Do that if they are going to hurt you. I never once felt like they were going to harm me after they were like, we want your stuff. I just was like, nope, they got a gun. It is not worth it. Absolutely, if you were fighting for your life, do that. Otherwise, just give them your freaking stuff. Stuff can be replaced. Your life cannot, you dumb person. So just give them your stuff.
I feel like that is an excellent PSA to end the podcast on. Don't be a hero. Just kind of stand your ground and know what you need to do in that moment.
Be a hero later when you tell your friends that you didn't get them killed. That'll be you being a hero.
It's the best reward of it all.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys for coming on the show and talking about a story that's not the most fun topic to talk about, but it definitely was an important moment in our, well, most of you guys' college experience. So I appreciate you guys both coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Can't wait for the best friend episode.
We will soon have the best friend episode, and we're going to leave that teaser there.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Yeah.
And especially on my birthday. So thank you guys.
Yeah, happy birthday, by the way.
Mhm.
Thank you. Please subscribe, give us a rating, follow us on Facebook, all that jazz. Thank you for listening.